Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt. Welcome to the Sin Bin. What about those Canadians, eh? 5-2 in the preseason. They look like a pretty good team. I'm not gonna lie. I can't wait for the real season to start Thursday against the Carolina Hurricanes. I wonder how that's gonna play out after the whole Sebastian Aho debacle. But no, I think they have a really good team. If anything, they might not contend for a Stanley Cup. I think they might contend for a playoff spot. But if anything, they're going to be a really, really entertaining team to watch. Whenever you have a hard-working team and players that give a shit, players like Max Domi who have the passion, whenever you have those types of players, it's always fun to watch. Those players that you forgive them if they do something wrong because they have the passion. Now, there's one player on the Canadians that there always seems to have a black cloud following this player. Of course, I'm talking about Jonathan Drouin. To echo my dad's words here, when I watch Jonathan Drouin play, I get heartburn. I get upset stomach. I get nausea. Which leads me to my announcement. You might see it's a different location that I'm in today. That is because I'm actually on a cruise ship all the way to Israel. So if you're hearing noise in the background, that's the engine. If you hear people in the background, it's little kids yelling. So that's where I am right now, and that's why I haven't been uploading videos or live streams regularly. I promise once I get back to Canada, I'll resume the live shows and I'll resume everything as normal. But you know, with the traveling and my circadian rhythm being off and my sleep cycle being off, that's why I haven't been uploading. But I did find the free time in my schedule to talk about this subject. I just wanted to say I really get seasick. And right now the boat's moving. You might see I'm kind of green. Maybe it's because I'm talking about Drouin. I don't know. He makes me kind of nauseous. But if you see me puke on screen, that's because of the boat. I probably won't cancel it out. I'll probably keep it in because it's funny. But without further ado, Jonathan Drouin, here are 3 trade possibilities. Now, there's a website online. It's called A Winning Habit. You guys might know about it. And the author, Ken McMillan, he puts out 3 different trade possibilities, trade targets for Jonathan Drouin, and he lists the return. He lists the return. Now, I really like this article, and I wanted to comment about each one of them because I think they're really realistic. Now, oftentimes as fans, and I do this too, so I'm guilty too here, but we do the mistake of when we have a player that we want to trade, we always overestimate his value. And we end up being like, oh, Jonathan Drouin, let's trade him for, I don't know, Kucherov. And I'm here sitting like, dude, that will never happen. That is not realistic. But the author here, Ken McMillan, I give him credit. He put out 3 names that I think it's very, very realistic, the situations, and that's why I wanted to bring them up and talk about them. But first, before we talk about each of the individual trade possibilities, let me just start by saying, do I want to see Jonathan Drouin traded? Do I want to see him off the team? Do I really want to see that? Absolutely. I mean, abso-fucking-lutely. On a team where the GM preaches hard work and no excuses and not being lazy. Why is Jonathan Drouin there? Because as long as he's been in Montreal, he hasn't been working hard. He hasn't had the work ethic. He's played at center. It was the bigger disaster than, I don't know what, Hiroshima. So why is he on the team? I was listening to Bergevin on Hiroshima, on a Marinero, and he actually said that his favorite trade that he's ever made, it's the Shea Weber trade. I don't necessarily agree with that, with all due respect, but he said he likes the Shea Weber trade because it changed the culture of the team. Acquiring Shea Weber and thus getting rid of PK Subban, it changed the culture, and he said it made the team more hardworking, a hardworking team. So with that being said, why did you bring on Jonathan Drouin? A player who takes shifts off, who takes sometimes games off, who takes sometimes weeks off. We saw him this preseason, and albeit it's preseason, I put this much stock into preseason, but he doesn't seem like he's trying to prove anything. He seems like he's trying to prove me right, if anything. He hasn't been working, So, yes, I want to see him traded. to answer the question, absolutely. The second reason why I would want to see him traded, and the author actually brings this up, is that the top 6 right now is clogged, both at center and on the wings. Every player in the top 6 currently that played in the last game, the last preseason game, you can make the case that they should be above in the depth charts, above Jonathan Drouin. So, as much as I don't think the player is a hard worker, and as much as I think down on him sometimes, I don't think that it's a good idea playing him on the third line. I don't think that's a good idea. He's definitely a top 6 player. I don't think that he's destined for the third line, especially if he's going to be playing with Kotkaniemi. Wasn't a fan of his preseason either. Okay, we'll see when the season starts. But that might bring him down, Kotkaniemi. It might bring him down furthermore. So I don't want to further depress him. I don't want to bring him down anymore. His game, that is. I don't know about his attitude, but I don't want his game to dip in quality playing with Jonathan Drouin. So I wouldn't really like to see that. So at this point, the only option for me is playing Jonathan Drouin on the 4th line or trading him. We saw how the 4th line experiment worked out with Galchenyuk. So for me, I would really want to see a trade here. Now, how should the trade happen? Do we just trade him anytime we want? No. There is one word that you guys, and you know it already, but you guys should take this word into account. And that word is value. So value is extremely important when trading a player. Okay? We don't want to trade him when his value is too low. One thing about Drouin is that he's kind of a hot and cold player. Okay? He has much more periods where he's cold, but there are some periods when he's hot. Just look at last year. He started the year. He was great when he started the year. I'm looking at myself. I look green right now. But he was great when he started the year last year. For the first 25 games, he was great. It would have been perfect to trade him then because his value is at an all-time high. If we trade him now, after he had a horrible end to the season last year, after he had a horrible preseason, his value is too low. So as much as I want to get rid of him, I would say let's keep on to him. Let's hold on to him until his value goes up. And let's not fall into the trap and say, hey, he's good now, let's keep him. No, no, no. Once that value is high and he's on, what, a 10-game point streak or something, that's the time to trade him. That's when his value is high. Let me give, for example, Galchenyuk. So Galchenyuk is another player that we traded when his value was low. He came off a very disappointing year. It was just his value was low. We ended up trading him for Max Domi, which is actually a really good trade. But who knows? Had we traded him directly after that 30-goal season, perhaps we could have gotten more. We could have gotten Domi plus insert name here of another player or another pick. So that's why that I really want to trade Drouin. If we were to trade him, I would like Bergevin to trade him when his value is at an all-time high, when he's coming off a hot streak, because as much as I like Bergevin, he's had his bad trades, but overall I've liked him. I think that one of his crucial flaws is that he always seems to trade players when their value is at an all-time low. Subban ended the year with a neck injury by Emlyn. He got traded. His value was low. Galchenyuk, his value was low. Those are the only examples that are coming up right now, but he does have a habit of doing that. Look, he traded Weiss when his value was high, and look at the return. So that just shows the importance. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to the 3 trade targets. As you guys may tell from the thumbnail, it involves the Wild, the Jets, and the Islanders. And the first one I wanted to talk about is the Wild. So, a winning habit proposes Jonathan Drouin being shipped to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for Jason Zucker. Now, I really don't watch Minnesota games, okay? So I had to do a little bit of research on this player. It turns out that he's quite a decent player. He plays the wing. He's a little bit older than Drouin. He's 27 years old, okay? So he's a little bit older than Drouin, who's 24. He's also a little bit more physical, okay? Jonathan Drouin, he's not a small player by any means. He crossed the 6-foot mark, but he's not physical at all. And we're not asking that from Jonathan Drouin, okay? Let's set our expectations here. But Zucker definitely has some of that grit and definitely has some of that physicality that may be useful in replacing a player like Andrew Shaw. Andrew Shaw, you know, that physicality, I don't know if Nick Cousins can replace it. That's yet to be seen. But maybe Zucker could be a suitable replacement for that physicality. Okay, now, do I like this trade? Do I like it? It's a good concept. I think that it should involve more pieces because as it is right now, the author puts it a 1-to-1 trade. I think that if you're trading a 24-year-old for a 27-year-old, those are 3 important years, okay? And let's not forget the fact that we traded Sergachev to get Drouin. Sergachev was, what, 19 at the time? He should be pushing 21 by now or 22. So we went from 22 to 27. That's pretty much a big jump. So as much as I like this trade, I would hate it to be 1-to-1. If it was Jonathan Drouin for Zucker and a third, then we would start thinking about it. But as much as, you know, we think Jonathan Drouin's offensive abilities and everything, Jason Zucker, he actually had a career high in points that was higher than Jonathan Drouin's career high. Zucker had 62 points, and that 64 points, and that was in 2017-2018. Not too shabby. I'm a little bit worried this past season because he dropped to 21 goals and 42 points last year, but different change of scenario, he can definitely bounce back. And the very few Minnesota Wild games that I have watched, he reminds me a lot of Brendan Gallagher. And that's always a good thing. He works hard, and even if he may be a little bit less talented than Jonathan Drouin, I would be willing to do that trade just on the fact that he's able to work harder, and you know that every game he's going to bring it. And who knows, he might come to Montreal and might click better than the current situation in Minnesota. Who knows? So this trade, it's interesting, but I would like to add a few pieces. Maybe a draft pick or like a B, A- class prospect, but I think that's a really, really good possibility. So you see what I mean when I say the author, he put out really, really possible, realistic trade targets? Let's get to the next one. And again, very, very probable here. And that is Jonathan Drouin being shipped to the New York Islanders in exchange for Nicholas Leddy. Wow, look at that beard. I'm jealous of that beard. So, Nick Leddy, I think that this is a good trade on the basis that we're acquiring a player playing a position that we need. We really need it. Left defenseman. He plays left defenseman, and not only that, he's one of the better skaters in the NHL. Not just defenseman and forwards, Nick Leddy is an incredible skater. I've been listening to interviews with some players, and they're asking, who do you think is the fastest skater? A lot of players were throwing Nick Leddy's name out there. He's kind of similar style to Jeff Petrie. There's some differences, but you guys get the gist of it. I think that this is an interesting trade target, just on the fact that he's a left defenseman, and the Canadiens really, really need that position. Another reason why we could use a Nick Leddy on the team is the power play. The power play was the team's Achilles heel last year. It was really, really bad. One might even argue if they had a good power play, they probably would have made the playoffs. And I don't think anyone's going to argue against that. Having a Nick Leddy on the team and just a puck-moving defenseman like that, that could really help. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm still not really happy of the fact if it's a 1-to-1 trade. I'm still not too keen on that. I would like to see another option. I don't know his name, his age, unfortunately. I don't know his age, so I should have looked that up. But I'm not too crazy about the fact that if it's a 1-to-1 trade. But, again, similarly to Zucker, if we were to add a pick or a prospect, then I think it's a really realistic trade target. And next up, and the last one on the list, I'm just zooming through here, guys, and this is one that we've talked about ad nauseum. Patrik Laine. So contrarily to the other options, this isn't a 1-to-1, obviously. So in the proposed trade, the Canadiens get Patrik Laine, the Jets in return get Jonathan Drouin, Cale Fleury, and a 2020 first round draft pick. So the two others, I was kind of lukewarm about them, right? I said, yeah, we could work with them, but overall, I overall pretty much like them. I do not like this trade whatsoever. It's a realistic one, but I just don't like the return in Patrik Laine. The reason why, and Patrik Laine has so much talent, I think he's more talented than Drouin because scoring goals in this league, it's really an art. And he mastered that art, Patrik Laine. The reason why I'm not too keen on it is because we are trading Drouin because of an attitude issue. The beginning of the video, I went off on this spiel on how he's not hardworking enough. So why trade a player like that to get a player in the same ilk? Someone who's not going to work hard all the time. Plus, he kind of shit-talked his own teammates. Right? That interview in Finland where he said, if I were to be traded, I could be playing with the best players or something else like that. I'm paraphrasing here. But the fact that he says that about his own teammates, I would really, really research him before bringing him onto the team. Okay? Because that type of character, I don't think there's any place for it on the Canadiens. That's just me. Now, the trade, as I said, Cale Fleury and a first rounder would be involved. The first rounder is dangerous because it's a 2020 first rounder. Excuse me, the nausea. Oh God, I might vomit. It's a 2020 first rounder. The Canadiens aren't expected, to finish in the top, 3 teams in the league. At least I would be very, very surprised if that happens. So that first round pick, it might have a lot of value, So if the Canadiens, they were a first overall team contender, then I would say maybe. But the fact that they're going to finish maybe in the mid-15, they're going to be a bubble team, a wild card team to make the playoffs, I would be careful trading away that first round pick. I would also be careful in trading away Cale Fleury. I think that Cale Fleury is a gem. I like now everyone, like the word of the day when talking about Cale Fleury is sneaky. But I overall agree with it because you look at his face, he kind of has this baby face with the hair going across, But then he throws hit like a full-grown man. I mean, that guy can throw the body. So I definitely understand why they call him sneaky, but I definitely see some top 4 potential in Cale Fleury. I don't think he's a top 2. He's more of like a top 4. He might be Petrie's predecessor. They're 2 different players, but just playing in that position later on with his tenure with the Canadiens, I definitely see that happening. I would also be careful in trading away Cale Fleury. I think that he's a gem. Obviously, if you're trying to get Patrik Laine, then you're going to have to give up a lot to get a lot. But the point is, I don't think I want Patrik Laine on the team. I made videos about it. I said for the right price. And I guess for Jonathan Drouin, you're not trading away someone with a hard work ethic to get him. But still, I would much rather see a player like Zucker or Leddy on the team if we were to trade Jonathan Drouin. Out of the 2, there's not one that I prefer the most. Maybe a little bit more Leddy because that could really, really help our defense situation. And it just seems that him and Weber, the 2 bearded defensemen, they would seem to make a really good defensive pairing. One is more of a stay-at-home, can't really skate well, has ankles like mashed potatoes. And the other one's high-flying, high-skating, high-speed defenseman who can play offense. Albeit his points took a little bit of a dip. I would like to see that. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I hope these are 3 possibilities that made you guys ponder. Do you guys like them? Do you think it's not enough? Do you think we should be getting more for Jonathan Drouin? Let me know in the comments below. Again, I'm sorry I was a little bit off this video. I'm kind of off color. I might close this and go vomit now. But that's okay. I wanted to make this video for you guys. You see what I do for you guys? So, to return the favor, make sure to like the video, drop a subscribe to the Sin Bin. It's greatly appreciated. And in the meantime, my name is Matt. Keep your stick on the ice.